Hello everyone! Welcome to a new chess video. Welcome to the Danish Gambit, a truly spectacular opening that's going to help you beat your opponents by suffocating them until they can't take it anymore. So without further delay, if you don't know this gambit, I'll show it to you quickly and then we'll dive deeper. E4, E5, you know, the two most popular moves in chess. And here we continue with D4. We're going to sacrifice a series of pawns to get deadly activity and have tons of attacking lines. First, they capture this pawn, and instead of recapturing, we offer another pawn with c3. When they take it, we don't recapture. Instead, we develop our bishop to c4. After pawn takes pawn, we'll capture with the bishop and we'll be in the Danish gambit position. We've sacrificed two pawns, but we have some absolutely incredible bishops. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to punish every move your opponent makes. In other words, this opening is going to help you win a ton of games, especially in blitz. If you don't believe me, pay close attention to the video. First of all, these two bishops would be attacking the king side. If your opponent in a blitz game quickly decides to develop their bishop anywhere, we simply capture this pawn, and we've not only won the pawn, but also the rook. Therefore, this bishop can't be moved. So you might say, well, I'll move the knight. It's not that easy either, because if you move the knight, I'm going to push the pawn forward. And pay attention, because this knight can't jump here or here, since those squares are defended by our queen. This knight has to go back, which would be pretty sad, or jump forward to this square. And if it jumps forward, we've got a surprise waiting for it. We're going to make the classic sacrifice from the Danish Gambit and many other openings. Bishop takes on f7. We attack the weak point of the position. It can only be captured by the king. And when they take the bishop, the double attack with the queen is imminent. Queen to d5, check. And when the king moves back, we recover the material with queen takes knight. And this king, which is the most important thing, is left in the center of the board unable to castle because it is already moved. Also with very little protection, which is going to leave us with some absolutely amazing attacking lines. We're going to develop our pieces, castle, and then go all in against the king. Now let's get down to business. Let's quickly review the line. E4, E5, we give up the first pawn with D4, we give up the second pawn with C3, and now by playing bishop to C4, we give up the third pawn on B2, and this one we do capture. Before we continue with the first absolutely spectacular line, because you're going to be amazed, I have to thank you all. You already know that YouTube is working terribly, especially with my channel. And overnight it stopped showing all my videos. So I wanted to thank you for the support you showed on yesterday's video. You guys are the best. That said, let's start analyzing the super powerful variations of this gambit, which is exactly why you're watching this video. Let's first analyze the most logical move, which you're probably wondering about. I've told you, this bishop can't move because then the bishop would be captured here and the rook would fall. However, this bishop actually can move to one square, chess teacher. It could go to b4 and check the king. In that case, we couldn't capture here anymore because we'd be in check. We'd have to defend against the threat. How do we respond to this situation? Do we move the king? No, obviously not. Do we trade this bishop for the knight? No, because we want to keep both of our bishops on the board. So the move will be with the knight, either knight to c3 or knight to d2. Well, here I'm going to recommend the move knight to d2. A very powerful move, and you'll see why from here on out. First, I recommend knight to d2, because that way we keep threatening bishop takes pawn. It's a totally brutal threat, which is why we've developed our bishops over here. They could continue, for example, with knight to f6, and when they play knight to f6, as we've already said, we need to push this pawn. Now, for example, they're threatening knight takes c4. You can see that this knight is pinned, so this pawn would fall completely for free. By advancing, at least this pawn doesn't fall anymore. Now, black has two options, either come here or come here, because you can see they can't come here or here since the queen is there. So coming here would be very passive. Coming here seems like a tremendous move, since they're putting even more pressure on the pinned knight. Here, it might look like we're already in serious trouble, but nothing could be further from the truth. The ones who are actually in trouble are them, and they probably wish they hadn't played this line. Let's see, first of all, how we can handle this. We have to come up with something to take advantage of the situation. The good thing is, I'm making it up for you, giving it to you as a gift, so you don't have to come up with it yourself. Just copy it. We're going to sacrifice this bishop, as always. Bishop takes on f7, check. But when they capture, chess teacher, now I don't have queen to d5 check to recapture the knight because we have this knight in the way. That's true, but we don't need to bring the queen all the way here. We can play queen to d3, check, and then take the bishop on the next move. Or we'll keep attacking, you'll see. Now, this king could move back and lose a tempo, but here the most common move, I checked the database to see what black usually plays to defend against this, is to play d5, hoping that we'll capture the bishop and this knight will stay defended. But the thing is, by playing d5, we can capture en passant and give another check. Therefore, here we would end up in a much better position. Now, if they have to block, the most logical thing is for them to block with the bishop, attacking our queen, and now we can capture this pawn here. We're attacking this knight with this piece, and with this piece. So the most common thing is for them to quickly trade off this knight to get out of trouble. And what do you think? Are we going to recapture with the queen or with the king? Well, neither of those. We're going to keep attacking against all odds. Check this out. Here we have an absolutely brutal move. I want you to enjoy this line because it's truly impressive. If you want, you can recapture in your own games, but I'm going to show you a truly amazing way to continue. We'll place the queen over here, given check, and once again we're defending, well, actually attacking, this knight. Plus, we're putting pressure along this file and threaten to capture this pawn here and fork. So, when the king moves back, pay attention, because we have this pawn. We capture here with the pawn, forking the queen and the knight. Don't tell me this line isn't absolutely fascinating. We fork the queen and the knight, so the queen has to move. Most likely, it'll go here, lining up for an X-ray, trying to set up some interesting discovered attack with the king. And what are we going to do? Are we going to get out of the discovered attack by capturing the knight here? Nah, we have another absolutely amazing move. Whoever guesses this move is literally a god because it's practically impossible to see. Only computers can see it. But since we studied it, we know we have this absolutely amazing move, queen to e5. And why is it so impressive if it looks the same? Look, first, it gets out of the pin. Second, it still keeps the support. And third, it's creating a super strong battery, threatening checkmate on the next move. So this move is all about threats. How can black stop this? Honestly, it's getting pretty tough for him. The mating attack is imminent. The threat to capture here is also imminent. First, they have to defend against mate, but once they do that, they're leaving this capture here open. We capture here, promote to a queen, and they have to take it. So we recapture, check, and you can see we're entering a really powerful line. When they bring the queen back to defend against this check, I can tell you here that you can trade queens and then capture this knight, and you'll have a completely won endgame with a rook and an extra piece. You don't have to memorize what I'm about to tell you next. Just do this and that's it. But we have a killer move with Coca-Cola, as the great master Pepe Cuenca, who's a genius, would say, sending him a shout out from here. We have a killer move, which is knight to f3, exchanging these knights. This knight that black thought was lost is going to say, oh, this is really good. All right, first, hold on a second. Hold on. I can already see you in the comments. You're leaving your queen hanging. You're absolutely right. This queen needs to move back first. Where's this queen going to go? Live mistakes? It happens. No big deal. Good thing I corrected myself in time. Where's this queen got to go? We'll put her back here again, threatening checkmate once more, and also threatening this bishop. A bishop that has to move back or be defended with the queen. And now, yes, we'll place this knight here. Like I was saying before, it's just that I memorized too many lines, guys. Sorry about that. Knight to f3. Now, yes, they're going to trade this knight because this knight was already considered lost. And what do we do about this? It looks like a really bad move, doesn't it? Yes, it looks like a really bad move, but actually is very good because we're opening up the file for the rook and putting absolutely fascinating pressure on the g7 square. It seems like this can't be stopped anymore, on top of all the extra material we have. For example, they could play over here. Why? To try to bring this rook over here, their last remaining hope. This is practically turning into a serial massacre. If we play here attacking, they could play here defending. And now we have a masterful move here, which is long castle. We're going to bring the rook in, and now for real, they can just resign. This line is absolutely impressive. You can't tell me it's not. I hope you're really enjoying these lines. The most important thing isn't to memorize them by heart. You already know that chess is very complex and every game is unique. The important thing is to keep understanding all the concepts. And the more concepts you see in games and are able to connect, the better you'll be able to execute them in your own games later on. Let's see what happens here if, instead of playing the knight over here, which we've already seen leads to advancing the pawn or giving a check, they play a slower line to avoid getting into trouble, since they have two pawns up, like d6, just to stay out of trouble, as I said. Here, we're going to recommend the move knight to f3. We develop our knight so that, who knows, in the future, after the knight comes over here, we could jump and make this typical attack from here. So in this position, black might play a move as typical as bishop to g4. Bishop to g4, which is a huge blunder. This is already a mistake. Simply put, it's the same as always. This bishop is undefended. You can see this in any of your own games. You already know that on the channel there's a video about how to punish this move in general, which is sometimes pretty bad, and I'll show you how to punish it. If you want, okay, I'll leave the video in the description so you can watch it after this one if you want. And now, let's see how to punish it in this position right here. We simply capture the pawn on f7, bishop takes f7, check. When the king recaptures, we can jump with the knight to this square here. Knight to e5, check. Chess teacher, have you lost your mind? You're sacrificing the knight. The knight isn't being sacrificed because the queen is undefended, therefore this knight can't be captured. And at the same time, we're checking with the knight and attacking the bishop with two different pieces. So when the king moves, no matter where, we're simply going to recapture this bishop here that our opponent has given us, putting it in a pin. What happened here? We've won back a pawn from our opponent, and most importantly, we've ruined their castling. This king can no longer castle and will be stuck here in the center of the board for the whole game, easily attackable. So we've seen that this move was very bad. Let's see what happens if they play bishop to e6, trying to exchange one of our most powerful bishops. Why? Because this is the bishop that usually gets sacrificed around here and causes so many problems for black. So how should we play if they try to exchange this bishop? Well, we're gonna exchange it, of course. Bishop takes e6 and pawn takes e6. Now, how do we continue? With the move queen to b3, a double attack. We attack the e6 square, and we also attack the b7 square. A double attack, so fearsome in chess. The only move that defends both points at the same time is queen to c8. Why? Because it defends here and it defends here. And now, we simply jump with the knight to put more pressure on this square here. Come on, chess teacher, I'll just push it forward and that's it. Then you'd get a totally brutal checkmate. This pawn can't be pushed forward. Therefore, it can't be defended by any piece either. The only piece that can come over is the pin. The situation is starting to get dicey. It already looks like black is in trouble, but if we don't know how to punish it, it's useless for them to be in trouble. So, I'm going to show you how to punish it. You're liking the Evans Gambit, huh? It's spectacular. We're going to capture this pawn here with the knight. Knight takes e6. Now what? We're giving away this knight here. We're losing a lot of material. Yes, but we're diverting the defense of this pawn here, which was the queen. And now, by capturing this pawn with the queen, not only do we defend this pawn, which was under attack, but now we're going to capture the rook, because as you can see, there's no way to defend it. So we would have not only a positional advantage, but also a material one. I'm really enjoying these lines here with you all. Even though YouTube is being tough on you, we're having a great time. Honestly, I really enjoy recording here on my little wooden board, teaching all these lines for you. And not so much computer, so many computer variations and all that. I love the real board. Let's see what happens if our opponent is super aggressive and comes in with the queen to attack the weak spot. Well, my friend, I have a surprise for you. I've already sacrificed 2 pawns for you, but I'm going to sacrifice a third by playing knight to f3. I'm threatening your queen and giving you this pawn right here. I'm giving you the g2 pawn. Have you gone crazy, chess teacher? Yes, I've gone crazy, I have. That's just how it is. I've gone crazy, but I'm giving you this pawn for a special reason. I'm going to bring my rook over here to attack your queen. The knight is defended, the rook is also defended, so the queen has to move away. And now, I suppose you all know this tactic and have all seen it before, but if not, I'll tell you. Bishop takes f7 here is white. Why? Because if they capture with the king, we have this knight jump check, and we would take the queen. That would be beautiful. But if they don't take our bishop, it could also happen, chess teacher, that they don't capture the bishop. So what do? It could be, for example, that they move the king away, of course, but then we have a truly spectacular move here, which is rook takes pawn. Now we sacrifice the rook. We're threatening this knight here, so the attacks are imminent. They can't move out with the knight because even more problems would come up. We could come in through here with discovered attacks. So here, the most normal thing is that they capture this rook. They accept the exchange, and then we capture here, defending this rook. You probably wouldn't guess it, but the most played move here by far is knight to h6. If you take here, I take here, and not much really happens. But we simply play bishop here, checkmate, and this king can't escape. We've seen a lot of options for black. Let's look at the best option for the black pieces. That is, what happens if you face a player who has studied theory and knows this line well? How can we counter it? Well, the best move here is knight to c6. It's a bit of a strange move since it seems a little too passive. But hey, our opponent could play anything, so we have to be ready for everything. In this case, as always, I recommend knight to f3, a pretty strong developing move. The thing is, we have a problem, and I'm going to explain what the problem is. When we get checked here, we can't use the same strategy as before, which was to play knight to d2 and all that to bring the queen to b3 and take the bishop, because this bishop is defended by the knight. So we're going to change things up a bit and jump with the knight to c3. And now you'll see why. Knight to c3, and black can keep playing naturally with knight to f6. A very normal, ordinary game. And now we're simply going to castle. Once we castle, what can black do? They can castle too, for example, and we're going to continue with the move knight to d5. A pretty powerful move. Why is it such a powerful move? Because now this knight is being threatened by 2 pieces, so it has to be captured, and we'll recapture with the pawn, putting a lot of pressure on this knight here. A knight that's running out of good squares. Normally, it would go to e7 to put more pressure on this pawn here. And here we're going to play the strong move, queen to d4, to put a lot of pressure on the opponent's castling. You know, here, without forgetting the theory, you have to remember one fundamental thing. We have to attack. If we play this gambit, we have to attack non-stop. Our idea is to take advantage of our 2 bishops that are aiming at the enemy king. Therefore, a queen at d5 in this position is brutal because it directly threatens checkmate. Here, there are several options to stop the checkmate. For example, f6 is terrible because we would simply push the pawn to d6, discover check, and we capture the knight on the next move. So, this move's not possible. And the other option, which also seems possible, is to bring the knight over here, attacking the queen, and at the same time defending this square here. What happens now is that we simply have to move our queen to the king side, queen to g4, once again threatening checkmate. Not immediately, but now we attack the knight first, which can't move. If the knight moves, it's checkmate. Therefore, this knight can't move. It's true that they could play d6, defending this knight, and at the same time also countering a possible discovered attack. What we need to do is take advantage of the bishops. I always tell you in this opening, make use of the bishops. We move the bishop from d3 back 1 square, redirect it, and improve its position by placing it here, putting more pressure on this knight, which is attacked by 2 pieces and can't move because it would be checkmate. Therefore, this position has fallen apart. Here, black's pieces can hardly do anything because we're also threatening a discovered attack on this bishop when we moved back. Therefore, this position is unsustainable. Do you know what move a lot of books recommend against the Danish Gambit? They recommend the move d5. And I'm going to show you how to counter it. If they play d5, we'll capture with this bishop. You can see that the idea behind d5 is to give up this pawn, but to free up the position a bit. Now, it's true they could play c6, and many of you might think this forces the bishop to move, leads to a queen exchange, and lets black take advantage of their extra pawn. But nothing could be further from the truth. We have the move that always saves us in this opening, which is bishop takes f7. This move, you always have to calculate it. Now, the king can capture, but that's goodbye, because the queen would be left completely defenseless. Therefore, the king has to keep defending the queen with king to e7. But there's this spectacular move, bishop to a3 check. And now the king can't come here to defend the queen, so it has to move away. And we're going to take the queen completely for free. Thank you. So we've seen that the move c6 is complete garbage. Why? Because then we would capture here and they would lose the queen. What move do the books recommend after d5? Well, they recommend the move knight to f6, threatening this bishop that is right now, in quotes, pinned for the queen exchange. We'll simply defend it with the move knight to c3. It's true, they can capture it, but now our knight here would end up in a pretty good position. We've lost our most powerful bishop, but our knight is now in a really good position. Many of you might think now they can threaten our knight, and once it moves, they'll be able to exchange queens. But here there's a spectacular move, which is knight to f6, check, sacrificing the knight. The queen can't take it because of the bishop, but the pawn can. And now it's us who exchange the queens. Why? Because now we'll play bishop takes f6, check, and on the next move, we'll take the rook. What happens if our opponent doesn't want to go into the Danish gambit line with d4, and when we play c3 after they capture here, instead of taking, they try to play a line like d5? We shouldn't worry about it, because we'll just capture here, and after the queen takes, we recapture this pawn here and end up with the same material. We're not down a single pawn, and on top of that, we have extra tempo, because we're going to attack a queen that's in the center of the board with our knights, and we'll develop faster than the black pieces. However, here we have a material advantage. Therefore, it's most likely that your opponent won't play this line against you. If they do play it, it's no big deal. d4, they take here, c3, and usually the most common move is that they capture with bishop to c4. It could be that they don't capture here yet and play a line like this instead. We just keep developing, and at some point they'll end up capturing this pawn here, and we'll recapture it with our bishop. And if they don't capture it, then we'll end up taking it ourselves with the knight, and we'll enter another gambit line called the Gory Gambit, which is also very powerful. Now, for those of you who made it to the end of the video, I want to thank you once again for your support. Honestly, I'm really loving the support I'm getting. You already know that YouTube is treating us pretty badly. Before, when you search for chess on YouTube, we were at the top, we were trending, and I don't know what's happened to YouTube, but they're pushing us down from one day to the next. But together, we'll make it through. Thank you so much. If you've made it this far, it's because you liked the video. Please leave me a nice like and a comment. I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. It doesn't cost you anything at all. In fact, YouTube has taken away my subscribers, and I want to reach 100,000. So I hope you really enjoyed the video. Thank you all for your support. I read all your comments, and I'll see you in the next video, friends. Goodbye.